Book 1, Copper John, 1820 to 1828. Chapter 1. On the 3rd of March, 1820, John Broderick set out from Andriff to Doonhaven, intending to cover the 15 miles of his journey before nightfall. It was typical southwesterly weather, the clouds travelling low and the soft, blustering wind bringing scattered showers that fell heavy for 5 minutes and then passed, leaving a space of blue no larger than a man's fist in the sky, with a glimpse of a sun that promised nothing. The road in those days was rough and uneven, and John Broderick, swinging from side to side in the chaise, called to the postboy to have a care, unless he wished to break the bones of the pair of them and land in the ditch for the night with no supper into the bargain. There was constant talk of a new road being built, but there the matter ended, like everything else in the country, and never a penny would come from the government for the improvement of the roads. The expense in the long run would fall upon himself and the other landlords. The trouble was that none of the others had energy enough to put their hands in their pockets, and if they were prevailed upon to do so, would oblige with so ill a grace, and with such a pother of words about the hardness of the times, the arrears of rent, and the slackness of their tenants, that it would save time and temper to leave the matter alone, and let the road become little better than the bogs around Killeen. However, the elections were pending soon in Slane, and if Hare wished to hold his seat, which no doubt he did, John Broderick would put it to him pretty forcibly that votes were not given for nothing, and certainly not for ministers to sit in London twiddling their thumbs and neglecting their own country. How few men of enterprise there were when all was said and done! It was not a question of conceit, but he could think of no other man but himself who would have achieved what had just been done that day in Andriff, and who would have had the vision in the first place to know that such an undertaking was possible. Too risky, old Robert Lumley had said in the beginning, shaking his head and bringing up objection after objection, how they would never get a return for their money, and would all be beggared and be forced to sell their land. "Risk?" John Broderick had answered him. "Why, no doubt there is a risk, just as every day in every man's life he risks breaking his neck when he steps outside his door. I grant you the expense in sinking the mine will not be trifling. Machinery will be necessary. Much labour will be required, and I admit freely that the land here is a different proposition from that of Cornwall, where they shovel and wheel out ore as fast as they can put it in a barrow, whereas we shall not be able to break an ounce without gunpowder. But the copper is there, ours for the taking.